Welcome to Talk Food with Chef Elias. Today we're going to talk about deboning a whole turkey. But first, I want to say thank you for all my supporters and my subscribers about getting me here to today. Without you, I would not be there. I'd be just cooking behind the line and just not thinking about creation, about being and sharing all this knowledge and stuff inside my head. So please share with your family and friends and like, share, and subscribe. But let's get started. So what I will say to get started is you need your mise en place. You need your space to be ready for you. So what I have here is one big turkey, one tray to hold the turkey, some a vessel for scraps, your bones, and one cutting board. But also we'll need knives. We'll need a boning knife, a paring knife, and also a chef's knife. Now, if you don't have a boning knife, a chef's knife will work as long as it's on the thinner side and it can be moved throughout the bones. And always a steel, because you need to keep sharp. A sharper knife for this type of work is essential, okay? So let's get started. So first we're going to start by removing the second portion of the wing right here. Slight incision just to get to the joint, and what I like to do is just kind of crack it with your hand and just remove that. And what you should see is the knuckle basically of the joint. These are great for the side. Just salt and pepper, roast them up. They're lovely on the barbecue. We're going to do the same thing with the other one. Okay? We're going to remove it just to the inside, snap it with your hand, okay? And again, you expose that knuckle, okay? Off to the side. Now, start with the breast up, and again, with that sharp knife, you're going to start and find that line down the center of the bird, which is called the keel bone. And we're going to go make an incision right through the center, okay? And we want to make sure that we are following the keel bone with the knife as closely as possible, because we want to make sure that we are keeping the most amount of meat on here as possible, okay? And the whole process of deboning a bird is really essentially to obviously remove all the bones, but sometimes people like to either roll them or stuff them. In this case, I'm going to actually stuff it with a sausage stuffing, and then we're going to roll it in bacon. So that should be really nice. Again, you're exposing the bone, and I'm going to do the same thing to the other side because we really want to open this up fully together, okay? So just slightly getting your knife right into the side of the carcass. Okay, right into the side of the keel bone. Okay, and slightly just separate it with your finger. You should be able to just slide it right through and start peeling back the meat. Okay, and you can start to see that the carcass is exposed. Okay, and we're just gonna get this part here because basically we want this to kind of open up like this one big roll of turkey. Okay. So again, you can kind of separate the back, the skin that's holding the where the tail might be, and you don't want that to get in the way. So we can actually just separate this now, because we're going to fold it back together, okay? So we're going to, again, running your blade right along the edge. You see that it's pulling off, leaving not too much, and now I'm going to do the same thing to over here, okay? So I'm going to, again, get to the top where the wishbone is, and really follow the knife really as close as possible, okay? And you see I'm just using gravity and my own force to kind of separate the carcass. And you can kind of see how it's coming apart, okay? Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm probably going to spin this around so I can get a better sight of 1, 2, 3. Hello. So we're going to open up the back here, and there is you can see that we can go many ways around this, okay? But we're going to start with the cage and open up the back here. And there's a joint right where the top of the arm is, and we're going to go right into the middle of that, and we're going to cut out the cage. And you can see that the back right here, there is a layer of skin that we want to protect. So we want to keep that intact, okay? And you can see that just by your knife, just allowing it to come down and around just a little bit, it starts to release, okay? And you got to just be careful at this point. But if you see trouble, you can always go and find another place to start. Okay, we're going to save the thigh and the leg joints to remove once we get the cage out. Okay, give me a moment here. We're going to crack that open, and you see that that's the thigh joint right here. And you get your knife in there, and that's going to release the leg to kind of relax. Okay, just kind of separate that joint. And if you think about it, we're just going to go right underneath that, okay, and expose the whole carcass. And you can start to see that it's just kind of opening up for us. And I'm going to just go under the back here and make sure that I'm staying really close, because again, the objective is to not pierce the skin. So the back, you got to be very careful that you don't, because there's not too much meat back there. Back there! Back joke. Okay. So again, working in sections. I'm going to crack this leg joint. And again, exposing the space here. We're going to go right in the middle of that joint. Okay, going to undo there, and a really nice small incisions. When you get to the point when you really want to be careful, just nice, concise incisions are really, really important to be as accurate as possible. Okay, we're gonna flip this around so I have better access to it. Okay, seam. Okay, seam where we're exposing more and more. Now again, save the carcass. The carcass is full of flavor, and that's where you're going to make soup. That's where you're going to make stock. This is where it's going to be, you know, the sustainable efforts of butchering is that you make food with the waste. Okay? Because in the end, it's not waste when you can use it, okay? So again, we're just exposing the back now, and it's giving me troubles. But also, the problem is this bird is a little cold still because it thawed for 3 days, but it's still a bit cold. So there we have it. You have the carcass that, you know, it's got some meat on there, so you could definitely salt and pepper this thing, put it on a roasting tray, roast it, add it to some water, and you have a beautiful stock, okay? Now that we've gotten the carcass out of the bird, we're going to work on the thigh bone and the leg bone, okay? But first, now that we have it exposed, we're going to remove the tenderloin of the bird. I don't know if you knew this, but in all chicken and all turkey, the tenderloin that all of our fried wonderful snacks are made of are coming right from the underneath the breast. It's the most tender part of the bird, let alone next to the breast. But these are huge, so they make a wonderful snack. We're going to just take our knife and set aside the skin, and we're going to start a line from basically the top of the joint of the leg and bring it right down to the bottom of the leg, okay? And we're basically exposing the center. And we want to start to kind of work our knife around the bone without piercing the skin, okay? Inside the bird, you can be a little bit more haphazard, but when you're getting closer to the skin, you really want to be precise, okay? So it's really important that you just kind of use your knife to follow around these joints and these bones, and it'll slowly expose itself. Okay? Now I'm just going in there and I'm slowly exposing around the whole joint. Okay? And we can see this is where the joint of the thigh and the leg meet. And so we're going to just really quickly find that piece and just carve lightly around it, and avoid carving into your thumb. So if you can, go up and away from you, okay? And you'll notice that in the turkey there is these pin bones that are close to the end here. These pin bones right here, which are tough and undesirable. And also you have these tendons, okay, which are not desirable. Okay, so we're going to just cut that right off. Once we have it laid out, I can dissect it better, okay? Because right now it's not the best. Here we go. That's better. Beautiful. We're going to put that right into our scrap pile. All right, and now we can start to work on the thigh. The thigh is awesome because it actually gives us a natural line to follow, okay? Whenever you're carving a chicken or a turkey, you can notice that the thigh and the leg are separated by a line of fat. The thigh is separated by a line of fat. So they're easy to identify, but also easy to butcher and break down a chicken if you have those couple tips. So again, I'm getting around the end of the joint, and I'm using my knife really closely just to carve around. The thigh does not really have those pin bones as much, okay? So I'm just using gravity to kind of reveal the bone, the joint, okay? And slightly nice, gentle cuts. Again, we're getting close to the edge of the surface where the skin, okay? We don't want to break the skin. And you have these little pieces of cartilage, which we will remove because, again, we're going to roll this and we don't want that tough piece to be inside. We don't want to be eating that, okay? So now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'll start with the thigh this time, following really close around the bone, where you can almost grab it with 2 fingers, okay? And you can just carve around the joint, okay? Again, avoiding your finger and keeping it close. And again, everything that's on these bones, you can roast, you can toast, you can make a beautiful sauce, a soup. Any of the meat can be left over, a scrap can be used for a salad, anything, okay? Again, I'm going to break that joint. Well, I'm going to break it down, go down a little farther because I didn't expose enough. Okay? Beautiful. I'm going to carve around until I meet that middle part. And I'm going to just go right into the middle of the joint. And to help me, I'm just going to break it, and I can see where that separation is. Okay? Beautiful. And now we have that, the thigh bone. And now I'm going to expose the second leg. And really trying not to break too much skin, but we're going to be rolling it back up, so I'm going to go right in line with the leg. As you can see, we're going to go right down from the top of the joint back to the bottom of the leg. Same thing we did last time, really just exposing the whole space, keeping it close. And again, we know that the tendons are around here, so what we can do is cut right around into the bone and cutting those tendons right on the bone, right through the skin. So we don't have to worry about it when we're doing it on the board. We can get a head start. Okay, so I'm going to move up towards the joint. Again, here, going right into where the cartilage is. And I'm going to carve around. And again, if you are messing up on the cartilage a bit, it's okay, because you can go back in and clean it up. And this one, you can tell that this leg has a lot of these tendons. So I'm going to go right into the board. And it looks like I'm going to need my chef's knife to get through that. Okay? And we're gonna just expose that and cut it right off. Wow, these things are really on there. Beautiful. Okay, again, we're gonna go through and just remove these pin bones because these are, again, undesirable and they will be a nuisance when we're eating them. You've probably been on Thanksgiving and you get that really big roasted turkey leg and you're all excited, and then you get to the bottom and it's these like twigs that are stuck in the meat. Well, those twigs are actually what helps the turkey stand up and move around and be itself, but we don't want that in our rolled beautiful dish. Same thing that, you know, when you butcher fish, you got to make sure that you take out the pin bones, and you got to make sure that you are taking out any undesirable textures. Now that the tendons are done, we're going to flip it over and work on the last two bones, which are the wing bones that I've left exposed, okay? So I'm going to just expose the joint from the bottom, just like I did for the leg, okay? And we're going to just get our fingers wrapped around, okay? And really just, again, it's about those concise cuts and really get it in there. Get your finger around the end of it, get your knife in there, and you can just cut it off right there, okay? And we're going to keep the knife really close to the bone. Find that joint and really just start to lightly carve it out, okay? And just use the gravity to kind of just let it fall out. Just like that, okay? Beautiful. And now we have this, again, that has a little tail of the end of the tendon. I'm just gonna make a small incision there, not into my finger, but to cut it off, and we'll have that off, okay? Same thing we'll do over here. I'll do from the side to the end of the joint. Get your fingers in there, move it around, okay? To the end. Now, like I said, and like I've said a lot, good food does take time. And so the idea behind this is that, yeah, this is a lot of effort, but you're gonna see and you're gonna try and work in a different way, and you're going to take the time to do it. So that is, you've heard of the idea of slow food. Slow food is food that takes time. And usually slow food refers to soul food or things that are going to, you know, not be fast food, not be a convenience. It's going to be because you wanted to take the time to do it. And that goes into your food. That goes into the intention of why we cook for others, okay? So again, we're gonna just remove that little tail again, all right? And also, the biggest thing about anything, being a chef and also butchering, is about waste. And in this type of project, all of this will not be wasted, okay? All of this will be used for stock. Like I said earlier, we can roast and all the meat can come off, and you can make dog food out of it for whatever you want to do. But the big objective is no waste. Okay, so now, as long as it holds together, we have two breasts on top, the thighs and the legs, all exposed, no bones, okay? Now this lets us, the chef, the cook, to be creative. We can now, what I'm seeing here is excess fat, residual fat off the end of the bird that I don't really want. You know, you can see this now where you have these kind of clusters of this kind of this oatmeal-y type texture. That's the excess fat. I just want enough that's going to be given flavor. We're going to be barding this with bacon. Barding means to wrap in something, wrap it in bacon or lard. So, just so everyone can see, there's so much to do now, okay? So we're going to take these tenders and we're going to lay them in here, okay? Now that we've gotten all the excess fat trimmed off, I've laid down the tenders in the center, it's time to stuff the bird. So I'm going to take my scraps and put them to the side, and I'm going to bring on my local pork sausage from central New York, where I live. Now I'm going to bring some salt, and don't forget about the pepper. But we're also going to need some string to tie it because we're going to, as they say, truss the bird. Trussing means to tie and to prepare it for roasting, okay? Now, I'm using a local sausage from central New York from some farmers that actually raise their pigs in the forest. And they forage, that's the word I was looking for, they forage from the things that are in the forest, such as nuts and different barks. But they also are fed a organic corn grain diet as well. So they're getting a really nice abundance of natural nutrients, and also, but they're local nutrients. Okay, so I'm going to be generous with the pepper because the inside has to be tasting just as good as the outside. So we always see the inside. We never see the inside, but we want to make sure that we are making it straight up Flavor Town. Okay. So I have my pork sausage here. I have about maybe 2 pounds or so. I might not need it all, but I'm going to basically take and I'm going to create basically like a patty. And I'm going to press it into the center of the bird. Okay. I'm going to make it flattened. Okay. I'm also going to do another one. I probably should just do one large one because again, when you think about cooking, it's got to be about the bite. And when it comes to ground meat, think of it like a dough. You want to emulsify all of the fat and the meat. And you see how it's starting to get tacky? Okay? That is very important. So it's basically stringing all that stuff together and making it more beautiful of a bite. So when you get a hamburger that's not, it cleaves or it breaks, it's because it wasn't mixed well. All right, so now we can see that we created a bigger patty, and I'm just flattening it along my hand. And I'm going to create and spread it out. We want to create this nice big center of sausage. Okay? And I'm going to just, you know what? Let's use it all, baby. Let's use it all. We want to make those bites nice and even. So we want to make sure that our layer is even as well. Okay? Put it aside here. And I'm going to go over here. Now this sausage is already seasoned. I've already even added some caramelized red onions with some smoked paprika in there. Okay? Now you get this to the side. Make sure your space is clean because this is not a small project, okay? So now that the sausage is kind of laid out nice and flat and even across the center of the bird, we're going to begin by folding it closed. The bottom, we can kind of tuck in. Actually, I'm going to bring it in just a little bit so we can tuck in that. And I'm going to bring in the leg and the breast. And we're going to tighten up the center here. And we're going to kind of roll it over itself. Okay? And basically, we want to tighten this. We want to tighten this guy up. Make sure that nothing is going to get lost. Okay? And I can get it loosely packed here, but what's going to really tighten it all together is the string that we're going to use to tie it up. Okay? So I'm going to just start by getting my first bit of the twine started on one end. Okay. All right, let me just tuck that in. Okay, beautiful. I'm going to start by just getting that first knot set. Get that first knot set. The process that I'm choosing to do similar is the way we would do a prime rib. So I'm going to make that first knot at the top of the roast, going to make a loop, cross the loop over, bring that loop underneath the bird, and I'm going to create another section of the trussing. Okay? Now, ideally you want this to be nice and lined up, and we're going to just make sure that we stay nice and tight this whole time. Okay? We're going to create that loop again and bring it under the bird. Whoops. Okay, and we're going to do it again. Ideally you want your lines to match up. Bring that tight again. Now this is a large bird. This is a 14-pound bird. I'm going to make another loop. So we want to be able to truss this in a bunch of different spots because it's long. Okay, we want it to stay together. The whole idea behind trussing is that you're keeping the roast or the bird or whatever you're doing together. Okay? And to make sure that it stays intact, but also what trussing does is it also helps with cooking things even. Okay? Okay, we're going to do another line. We're going to need more string. We're going to need more string, everybody. Now that the bird is completely trussed, we're going to season it and get ready for the searing. But I want you to see what we got here. Okay? Turn it around. Make it all tight. If you have to do a little more, you do a little more. But you want to make sure that it's together to the best of your ability and make it nice and tight. Season the outside with our salt and pepper. Okay? I like to do, if I'm doing, with one hand with salt, do the whole thing first, and then you get around the whole thing, and then you do with pepper. Now, when you're adding salt and pepper to the outside of a texture like this, it's really, what it's doing is creating something for the heat and the oil and the fat to grab. Okay? And it's going to create texture. Okay? Here we go. Lucky with pepper is that you can kind of flick it. And then you don't have to move it as much. Okay? We'll flip it over and do the other side. Beautiful. Notice how we're seasoning all the layers. Sometimes when you go to restaurants, they don't season their layers. All right, so we're ready to go. Let's sear away. As you can see, I'm using a bit of a rocking motion here to make sure that all sides are seared and sealed well. And then, once that's there, we're going to take it and place it right into our roasting pan. So now we're going to take the bird, I'm going to place it in the oven until we've reached an internal temperature of 140 degrees. And we're going to cook it at a 350 degrees. There we go. Okay, so the moment we've all been waiting for. The turkey is done. At least the first stage. And look at that skin. This is what we are looking for, okay? Getting that first layer crunchy, and now we can start to begin by removing the butcher's twine, okay? In this process, always double check your work because sometimes, just sometimes, there might be a piece left over, okay? So just make sure you remove it all, and you can tell that the roast is completely set. So the butcher's twine did its job. Okay, so I have my bacon right here, and I'm just going to basically do it right on the surface. I'm going to lay piece by piece, and we're going to alternate with, I have a regular bacon and then I have a smoky applewood bacon, just to kind of get the flavors alternating, and that way we have a little bit of that outer layer of smokiness and just beautiful, beautiful, intentional cooking. So now we want to make sure that the bird is completely enveloped in the bacon. So I'm going to make it a little longer as well. And the technique here is basically just to lightly overlap each layer of the bacon, so that way it doesn't have any space in between. Now, some people might do a different technique where you do a braiding or you do some sort of a lattice work, but this also works just fine. Okay, and really just want to overlap. I'm going to make a few more layers, and again, we're trying to make this the same size as this. So we're almost there. Alright, so here comes the moment of truth. We're going to take the roast and we're going to lay it. I'm going to do it, okay, right to the center. And we're going to take my knife and ever so gently start to roll up these layers. Okay? And start to bring it around. Okay? Again, this is not rocket science. It does not need to be too intense, but you should be calm and collective and be aware of what you're doing. So if you see that you need to tighten it up a bit, you tighten it up a bit. And the bacon is flexible enough right now where you can actually move it. So now I'm going to just take a slight turn and move with the bacon. This is amazing. Okay? And then we're going to continue to turn with the bacon. And I'm going to just do like that. And ever so gently, we have, in lesser terms than none, we have a barded turkey roast. And the best method is to put it in a roasting tray where the whole roast is exposed from the bottom. We want the bird to have air circulation around the whole thing so we get crispy bacon around the whole thing. So we're going to just, these little pieces at the end that maybe they didn't fit around, that's okay. We can just put that in or tuck it under, but if it falls off, that means maybe it didn't need to be there. But I'm just going to go 1, 2, and 3. And I'm just going to tighten it up a little bit, but this baby's ready for the oven. I'm probably going to hit it for about 375, probably about 15 to 25 more minutes, give or take, making sure that the internal temperature has reached 165. Food is best shared with friends, so I decided to come to my friend's house and finish the beautiful turkey dinner at his kitchen, because he's got a nicer place than I do. So here we go. We're going to throw it in the oven 375, 20 to 30 minutes until we are happy with the crispiness of our bacon. See you later, buddy. You ready? All right, now be careful now. Don't do anything stupid. All right, look at that. That is a gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful thing, my friends. We've waited long enough. We've opened and closed the oven and closed it again and opened it up again, and we've waited. It's a beautiful, beautiful project that's come to a beautiful, beautiful ending. I don't know about you, but I'm hungry. I'm going to want to eat this as soon as I can, and as safely as I can. Because one thing to do something stupid with a smoldering hot turducken, well, without the duck, so it's like a turpigan. That's what I'm calling this. I'm going to take the tools that are around me, which is fine. And you see, having that rack underneath is very, very important. Okay? And we're going to move it over. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Where's my towel? I had a towel. Beautiful. All right. So now that it is safely on the cutting board, it's time to cut the bird. Boom. Oh. Oh. That is a lovely, lovely thing, my friends. I don't know about you, but I am super excited to get into this. And you'll please come see the next videos that are coming up. They're going to be sides and dishes that went with this whole meal and a tutorial for the whole entire project. So follow all my new videos that are coming out and the old ones that are there. Talk Food with Chef Elias. Signing out. Enjoy.